All right, guys, let's see if we can actually, if you guys can actually hear me. All right, guys, let's see if we can actually, well, looks like we got a feedback here. You can actually hear me. All right, we're using the lava mics. Miss BBT got a call, so we're a little late starting. She was trying to handle that, but I'm going to go ahead and start essentially without her, make sure everybody can get in and see everything. I don't have anybody watching the chat. You guys hear me fine? We're using lava mics. It's a little different setup this round. Hopefully it's nice and loud and clear. And I can walk around and you can still hear me, which is amazing. Essentially, we went out and got, this is really from your guys' being awesome and doing your donation. I told you guys we'd pay that forward to give you guys better, clear content. So we went out and got some Mova lava mics. These are actually really, supposed to be really decent. Some people have asked me about the Sennheiser. I think Barnacle was asking me about the Sennheiser one. I didn't look that one up. I just got the reviews on that one, and it should be pretty good. Got 90 in, loud and clear. That's great. So what we're going to go through today is going to be very pointed, a very quick episode on YouTube. And what I'm going to do is take everybody through kind of, I've done a lot of testing. I still got a lot of this kind of out. We've done a range of different graphics cards over the last few weeks with x16r for Raven. And I wanted to try to do, it took a little bit of time. It took about 7 days to kind of test all the different configurations and stuff and see what the median output really was, because this algorithm goes through a series of 16 different actual algorithms as it goes through. So when it's doing its proof of work, and I wanted to see, what was that curve based on the settings that we were using on across the different settings. And what I've done is compiled you're seeing me on this little loop here. I've compiled a list that we're going to go through, and I've made this available. If you can't see it on the screen, in the description, there's a link to this Excel file. So it's for you guys to take a look at. And again, some of these settings you're going to find is different, that's why I put on your particular steps, because I put the series of cards, memory, and the category type. And not all cards are created equal, and some people have different results, but this is the results that we've had on the cards that are listed here. So I'm going to go ahead and go to full screen here. Let's see here. XSplit. Pitch this over here. All right, so let's first start. Again, I want to get right into this episode. I don't have anybody watching chat, guys, so if you guys are donating or doing any of that, I will get to it. This is also being simulcasted on Twitch, and after this, we go through these, and I'm going to explain how I got what and what settings and stuff. That's kind of, obviously, this is a lot of information, so we're going to kind of go through it, but we're going to have an after stream, meaning a stream after stream. I don't know how where I'm just going to go on Twitch, and this is really kind of to get you guys that are on YouTube to come over to see us on Twitch, because we do put a lot of different streams on Twitch. The kind of just unorganized ones where I'm just going out and I'm just testing stuff, or if I'm going to spend 2 or 3 hours, it could be just a Twitch stream. So this is really to get you guys over to Twitch. Again, I don't have anybody watching chat right now, so if you're trying to talk to me directly, Miss BBT will be back down here soon, and we'll be watching chat. But after this quick stream here, and we go through these settings, I'm going to fire it back up just on Twitch, and we're going to do a couple giveaways. So you're probably going to want to be there. We're trying some new tools on Twitch to where it can actually, you can subscribe to be part of the giveaway right there on Twitch, or giveaway, and then it'll randomize it right there and tell the winner. And we have a couple things that we're going to give away today. One of them is going to be a 750, GTX 750 Ti. And those actually do pretty decent, and you'll see the numbers here on here. And I believe we have one more thing, and I'll keep it as a surprise on Twitch. So it's going to be after the Twitch stream. It's to kind of like shamelessly plug you guys over to Twitch. So if you don't have a Twitch account, we'll give you guys some time to get over there. And then that's going to be me breaking down a lot of this as I go through stuff and talk through and ask me anything kind of thing on Twitch, and we'll do that for probably a couple hours after this. So I've shamelessly plugged that long enough. Let's get into this and start peeling this up. Sounds good, BBT. So there you go. So let's see here. We're 166 people. That's not bad. Pretty good showing on a Sunday. It's snowing here, so it's a good day to do this kind of stuff. Windows open, letting all the heat roll out. So if we look directly at this, hopefully you guys can see this. I'm trying to make sure I'm lined up on the screen right. And we will scroll down. It looks like it's just far enough over. Okay. So if we start with the 750 Ti, now most of these results were done live on Twitch, actually, on a few live streams. We've had about a series of 3 to 4 live streams on there. They went kind of long, but it was the real kind of where did we go and how do we get these numbers. A lot of these were done on Twitch, so you can see that. But the EVGA 750 Ti, and this is the little guy that I'm talking about here, single fan, older card. You can find these on eBay sometimes. You can find them on like hard forums or Anadeck forums. You can find 1 or 2 of them pretty cheap. I've seen them go as low as $20, $25. I've seen them go as high as $75. But these little guys here, what we've seen, they're 2 gig cards. 2 gig cards work with x16r. So you got the 750 Ti. The settings on this one we had at 21, or no, we went 20. I have it here on my other notes here. 20 intensity for these guys. So the big thing with x16r, and I'll show you guys, I think I have it on this laptop. So if you edit that, this intensity stuff's what I'm talking right here. So you want to go through and do some testing with your cards and change those intensity levels. If you leave it stock on most stuff, it goes to 19, or it'll go to it'll base at 19 or base at 20. It just depends what it fires up with. But you want to check your different levels. And with those ones, 20 worked well with these, and we ended up getting a little over 2 mega hash on this little guy here at 30 watts. So 30 watts for 2 mega hash, not too bad for the EVGA SCs. Now I'd like to see some other, there's a whole range. They had there's a 2-fan version of this with a 6-pin. This does not have a 6-pin connector. So the riser, just bam, and no extra, connectors. So like using older power supplies with those, like this is an old Antec Earth Watts. You can't find these anymore, but if you had an older power supply, this is old 750. It only had a couple 6-pin extra adapters. I've had this. This was an old gaming pool that I had. I believe this was a gold. It was silver. So this was a silver power supply. But running that with, 6 of these little guys is not that much power at all. You're talking 180 watts for 6 cards, because it's just the 30 watts that's pulling off of the riser, and then the motherboard setup's about 35 watts. So you're looking right at about 220 watts max on 6 cards, which is just crazy talk. That's the beauty of the 750 Ti's. 2 gig ones that you want. Have not tried a 1 gig card. We do have a 1 gig 750. That might be one for later. This is a single 1 gig 750 non-TI. Haven't tried that one yet, but that gets you that kind of performance. So 20 there. 970 Gaming X. I have a couple of those. Those were on an older gaming PC. We had them in SLI. Ran those for a little bit. Little higher wattage on the power, about 120. Power limit on that, we bumped up versus bumping down because I wanted to see what was the real threshold. You're going to settle around 3.1 to 3.6 mega hash if you take it down to like 80 power limit. And, so if you're going through there and adjusting your power limits, it's about 80 on that. 80%, you'll be more towards the minimum. But that gives you a kind of sustain. You'll drop that power down to about 90, 95 watts. Probably realistic, probably a little over 100. And then your 1050 and 1050 Ti's, again, not too bad. A lot faster with the 1050 Ti. Again, 50 watts there. We'll kind of go through these a little quick. Again, all of these are mostly 20 to 21 intensity. But again, I would recommend going through and trying it yourself. And we'll see that. Please connect please calculate monthly income. Monthly income, I usually do not put income levels on these, and I do that for a range of reasons. One, I don't want to falsely set your expectations, and the revenue is completely predicated on the price that can go up and down. I mean, just look at Bitcoin and all the other cryptocurrencies spread in the last like 3 weeks, right? We were at 11.5, we were down to 8,900, 8,600, and now we're back up to what, 9,500 for that. You look at Raven before it was an OTC trading was going as high as 800 Satoshis. It's down to about 340 Satoshis back and forth. It was high as 450 on the decentralized exchange that it's on right now on CryptoBridge. So, I mean, setting your monthly expectations, it's really predicated on what your sell pattern is, or if you're going to hold it for a long time. It really comes down to what's your output versus the difficulty. So you can do your calculations based on that and then set your monthly. So I'm not going to put a spot number out there based on what. I mean, I could put a relatively average, 30-day rolling average of how many Satoshis it is, but that can change very quickly. I was trying to answer one of the questions that was out there. So a 1060 XLR8, I have that little, it's a two-fan PNY. It's actually in another machine right now. It's the 3 gig version. And what we were looking and seeing on that one was just under 6 megahash, about 5.2. Again, all the higher max numbers here were over 100 power limit. So it was, power limit of 105 to 120 to try to see what the rolling average was. So this wasn't the max number that I seen, right? Because on some of these, I seen 6.2 on a 1060, mega hash on one algorithm of the 16s as it was going through. But what was that average over time? So if you look at the RVN max, it's mainly power limits that are over 105. This is a very power hungry. It can be on certain parts of the algorithm. And then some parts of the algorithm runs lower. Like it doesn't need all the power. It runs efficiently. And you may use half the power that you'd be using on some of the other algorithms. So you'll see this range happen with this actual x16 algorithm. So 1070s founders, 1070 Ti. Did notice a difference here, but I mean, part of this could be predicated on the fact that it's a 1070 founders edition versus a 1070 Ti amped extreme, which is like the, from base stock clocks. Well, the amped extreme, all the 1070 Ti's have the same clocks, but the range that you can take that up to, the cooling, everything else that comes with the amped extreme, gives you some overhead. And you can see some difference on the 1070 Ti. It's got an additional compute unit, and it has a little better power usage. Again, that higher part was using, we're talking 110, 120 power limit, and you're going to look at about 126 watts of usage. You could drop that all the way down to 90 if you're dropping your power limit to 75, but you're going to be under or right about the min numbers. So 8.66, you'll be more like 7.2 to 8.6 if you're running a little lower, less power, because you're going to hit parts of that algorithm that want the power and it just won't scale up.
You can see some difference.
And then you got the 1080 classified, which we did on one of the live streams. So a lot of these numbers, like the classified, the 1070 Ti and the 1080 Ti, were all done on Twitch. So you guys can go back and see those. Again, I know that some people will probably have 1080 Ti's and are using a different miner. This was all done with the CUDA 9 version of the 2.25 miner that's available. It was not the enemy miner. But the rolling average on the RVN Max, which was about 110 to 120 power limit, was about 16.82. Now, there were some parts of the algorithm that was over 20 megahash. It hit 19.2, 20, 20, 20, and then it would drop back down to 14.5, 14.6. The rolling average over a period of time, though, was about 16.82. So that should set your expectations on if you're from a 1080 Ti. The Titan V was a really weird animal because on certain algorithms, it's unbelievable. If I put that power limit at 120 on it and actually let it feed some power, it was roughly the same wattage, 179 watts, as the 1080, the 1080 Ti. If I left it at 100, it would use 123 watts. So there's periods of time that thing's a lot more efficient, and you can see the architecture from the Volta coming out in that. But the ranges are just crazy. Like if I just have it bone stock, or just under, if I under voltage or under power limit it just a little bit, 90 power limit, it actually holds about 19.2 sustained. I mean, it's like 19.2, 20.1, or, you know, 21, 22. And then just to hold that through the whole time it's hashing. If you feed it power, and this is, again, not really touching any clocks in memory settings. I mean, there's times that it's up in the 30s, right? The fastest I've seen it so far is 36 megahash on one of the algorithms. So it is, if this is what's to come on the 2060s and all those, it's going to be very interesting, because the Titan V is a whole other level. Now, again, that's a $3,000 card and crazy talk. And, you know, we got that for a whole other just testing Volta purposes. But just to give you a benchmark of what that is. Before I move to AMD, let's look at some real quick questions if there's any. Audio is a little crackly. Enemy Miner is closed source. Yeah, I'm not touching Enemy Miner until they disclose a few things with it. At least all of its external calls that it makes. If they expose that source code, then I'll be one of the first to help them make sure that people know it's safe to use. But until they expose at least the code that of all of its remote calls, it is not going to get my endorsement, because I don't want to put you guys at risk. It could be a sleeping dragon, and then, you know, it's a keylogger and then smokes somebody. It's not worth it to me until I can see the source. I don't want all of it. I don't care about all of it. I don't care about their optimizations. I just want to see all the remote source. All the calls. I want to see everything it does remote. All right. So that gives you, and then the base system that we were using, it was the test bench stuff. If you follow me on Twitter or Twitch, you know the base machine that we use. It's the little white thermal take here. It's got the MSI carbon motherboard in it, and it's an 850 thermal take. But we got a little faster CPU. And I do that for a couple different reasons, just to make, when we're doing builds and stuff with this, I want it's the cheapest, fastest little processor you can get. It's like $125, $127 i3, and it is the 7350K. It's 4.2 gigahertz. It's really quick, and it's cheap. And it allows, if I'm doing updates or anything else, I want it to go as fast as possible without spinning. What's that look? Oh, you were...
They were talking about the mic and what it could be rubbing on. I didn't know if it was on your sweater. They said maybe it's your beard on the zipper of your shirt.
Oh, is it hitting?
No, it's not bad.
Well, I lost the little thing for it here.
The little thing?
This.
You lost your little fuzzy?
Yeah. Hold on. Rip headphone users for a second. Like, turn your speakers down. I'm going to put
Mute it till they put it back on.
I'm not good at putting these things... No. I'm not going there. Young audiences.
So are the regular mics still working, or is it just these?
Right now, these are just on. If you go hot, then you're on. So and just be careful with your headset. So if we go down, let's go down some here so you guys can see this, and I'll scroll down a little more. You don't need to see that. There you go. That should be everything. So this is the AMD output here, and this is a range of different AMD cards. And again, this is kind of a baseline. You may get a little different results depending on the quality of the ASICs that you have on your card, and the main chips on all your GPUs are ASICs at the end of the day. But they're and they have different qualities, right? So we went as far as back as the R7 370. This was, again, on a live stream, and that was its output. So this is this little Strix here. It's a smaller card. It's got a little overhang here. Dual fan, single 6-pin connector. And the power actually was very efficient with this one. I don't know why it was so efficient, but I don't think it was really hitting this card very hard. But it was about 45 watts. Normally, that card's like a 100-watt card almost, like 85, something like that. But sustained 2.32, 45 watts of power. I thought it was a fluke. Put it in another machine, still holding 45 watts. And you're not probably going to find too many of these R7 370s, but you know, they were a thing for a while. This is a 4 gig version, and again, it's the Strix, and getting about 2.3 on its max at 45 watts. We did also the R9 380 and 380X. I wanted to see the difference between the X and the non-X, and this was a lot of the case. I haven't got to yet the R9 270 and the 270X. I do have a couple of those to be able to test. Have not tested those yet. But the 380 did do pretty well. About 3.5 it's its max at about 6.7 watts. That's an older generation card, it's not the RX series. So again, I'm trying to give you guys an overview of some of the older cards out there. I know a lot of people around the world watch and partake in this, and sometimes those, you know, cards that become secondhand are available in your geographic area. It is nice to know what those What's going on?
Sound issues.
What's up?
It says RIP audio. It's horrible from what they're saying. It just went to crap all of a sudden.
Audio's toast? Well, turn yours all the way off.
Okay, it's good now.
Audio's toast? Well, turn yours all the way off.
Do you hear you the way you sound?
Audio's toast? Well, turn yours all the way off. Wow.
It was when I turned this off is when they freaked out. So I had to just leave mine on mute.
Better now?
But your voice still doesn't sound right. They said they like the other mics better.
Lots of static.
Quit touching it.
It's good now. Okay, don't touch anything.
Got it.
Sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on in the back, but I will make sure that nobody touches anything. Exactly a million fans. Sounds good now. Okay. Yeah, sorry guys. I don't know what's this is a dual mic setup, and I think whenever Miss BBT turned it on, it may have caused some kind of loop or weird issue. Yeah, because this is all the way in. Everything's in right now. You had static overflow for about 10 seconds. Okay. So something else happened there. So yeah, we lost like 30 people because of that. Sorry. Rip. Hands off. All right. Sorry, guys. Note to self, don't touch anything once it's on.
Well, they say stop touching it. You almost did it again. Stop it. You're killing them every time.
I understand. I'm repositioning it.
Okay, you didn't even touch your pocket.
All right. Hopefully that's not as sensitive. And it might be the gain's too high on somewhere else, and we'll see. All right. Again, sorry. New mic setup. We're not using the Audio-Technica.
All of the things. That's funny.
All right. So back to this where we can get through this, and we'll go over to Twitch, and we'll switch back to the other mics on Twitch. So that way you guys are not getting murdered on your headphones. So we're at the RX 460 now. The RX 460 was essentially this, I think do I have that set as a red dragon? I have a red devil. Red dragon. It's the red dragon. So it's this power color red dragon. Man, look at that price, $114. That's not a thing anymore. The output of that one, not too bad. Used a little less watts, and it was almost as fast as the RX 560, which I was actually pretty impressed with, being an older card, and actually had a little less wattage. But its output wasn't as much. Now, the key part is all of the AMD cards that are listed here, all of them, besides the R9 and the R7 series, all had BIOS mods. We left the BIOS mods that were for Ethereum on there. I am going to do a separate entire stream / episode on does the updating of the BIOS matter. So we're going to test the 1500 straps, the 1750 straps, and then no straps. And then if a card has two modes, like a gaming mode and a quiet mode, we'll test all those. So I'm going to take a handful of the cards, I'm going to flash them back to stock, and I'm going to see if there's a big difference at all with the timings. Again, remember the timings had to do with the memory timings to help the Ethereum, essentially have Ethereum a lot more efficient. And you could see a pretty significant difference between BIOS flash and not. That matters quite a bit from a timing standpoint. If you're going to do x16r, or if there's any other forks of x16r, if any other algorithms or any other coins move over to it, that kind of thing is going to matter on if you're going to be, what cards you're buying. Because some people don't touch AMD because you have to BIOS mod them and because they're very finicky. So I do want to do a separate test with that. That'll be its own thing. So I just wanted to make sure people understood that all of these had essentially their most optimal BIOSes on them for Ethereum, and we just went with it. So the 470 mining edition, which is the Sapphire Nitro series card, that's this guy here. In one of the latest videos, we take the front plate off of it, and what we found was a little kind of a, it was on my 60-second video, we found an HDMI port there. So they kind of hide it behind there. It's actually behind the plate to where you can't even see the damn thing. And it's like, those little butts, they didn't let us know that there was an HDMI port on this. So I'm also doing another video on this one specifically to actually see if we can get that HDMI port up and actually use this as a normal graphics card, not just a mining edition, because that kind of changes the value proposition of these RX 470 Sapphires. If you can actually use them as a normal video display device and then, like, you know, try to game with them. So that's going to be a separate episode. It'll probably be an episode versus a live stream just because it's pretty straight and to the point. Can you or can you not? But RX 470, I think that'll be interesting. So again, 4.2 to 5.35 at 87 watts. That's one thing about those mining edition cards. People are like, who gives a shit about a mining card if I can go buy a 470, you know, retail edition? What matters is that on all the mining cards, they've, with their BIOSes being updated, they're running definitely more efficiently, and they're cooler. On almost all the mining cards I've tested versus the retail versions of them, they're cooler and they use less electricity. So that is a real thing, and their output is roughly about the same. The 480, I have a triple fan 480 Strix. That's actually the one that's running in Miss BBT's streaming setup that we have up in the kitchen. We were going to go with the APU, was that 2400G APU, the new Ryzen 5, but it just wasn't, it doesn't have enough output essentially to handle 4K streaming. And then for multiple sources, it's just OBS, everything was very slow. So I put the 480 in there. We went ahead and put, that has a BIOS on it and the 8 gig, and it was actually the 480s were doing very good. 7.2 right now, it's still up there. It's been running for like 4 days straight, no issues at all. And it's right there at 7.11 mega hash right now. 125 watts of power usage, does use a lot more power. Now that has a double BIOS, so I tried it on with everything turned off, so it kind of gives you some insight. And it was a little lower, but was using 153 watts of power, so it was definitely using more power. So the BIOS did have some effect. And we're running the core on that at 990 versus the 1.2 volts that normally comes with. So it is running a little minor undervolt to bring that power down to at least 125 watts. And that thing drops as low as like 70 watts on some parts of the algorithm. R70, the RX 570 Red Devil 4 gig runs right under 5 mega hash. Now I can get it if we bump up the intensity to 22, but that became unstable for me, and I don't know if it was just running too heavy on the card. The card we're talking about here is actually right here, which you guys can't see because I'm not zoomed in, but this Red Devil right here. It's a triple fan Red Devil, and it's getting roughly right at 5 mega hash. The 580s there's a definite like 1 to 2 mega hash speed increase from the 570s to the 580s, and I'm trying to figure out why, because on almost all the other types of currencies, the 570 and the 580 are really close to each other. So the The RX 570 right now is about that 5 mega hash, and that's where your expectations should be set for that. And again, we already covered the 580. 580 is real strong. It's a little faster than the 480. But the power usage on, I've tried 3 different 580s, and the power usage is all around that 140 to 150 watts. So still also trying to look at that if I'm going to try some undervolting with it. The problem, you got to be careful with undervolting AMD cards. Sometimes you can burn them up if they're not getting the right voltage and smoke your card. So that's kind of, you know, a thing. Don't risk it if you don't know, if you don't know how to test and check and have some thermals and look and see if you have some kind of voltage drops. Don't messing with the voltage too much, especially on x16r, since it's really up and down on its power usage. Vega 56, we have a basic reference edition from the Sapphire, and we have an XFX RX Vega 64. I'm trying to tweak with the Vega 56 because it's not getting the same output I can on the 64, but it is over 12 mega hash, which is not too bad. Again, you have to feed it some more power. It's using a ton of power when it's running at those higher mega hashes. And we actually did a live version of this on Twitch, and actually we did it on YouTube too. This one was on YouTube. If you look up our Vega 64 reference edition, we got it all the way up to almost 16, but that was just pretty much maxing out the power, throwing the beans at it, and then having the fan curve set to almost 80% of output, which is a blower fan, and it's like a hairdryer on. So you can get close to 16 out of it, but you're going to be using a crap ton of power. I think our power usage on that machine was at 325 watts, and the machine's idle was at like 50. So, I mean, you're talking like 275 watts at that. But about 225 watts, it swings from 150 to 225 depending what it's working on, but 11.1 to 15 around there is going to be what you're looking at on a Vega 56. So actually, or 64, not too bad compared, you know, to the nVidia, you know, series of cards. So if you're on Crypto Night and you're getting killed on Crypto Night right now, and you move over to x16r, your Vegas do transfer pretty good and give you a pretty decent output for x16r. So that was the real kind of overview. Again, most of these are, I would just recommend for people to go in and set your intensities at different levels and check. Start with 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and up to 22 if your cards can do it. And then just do a cycle test. Spend about an hour of testing that. Let it run for 5-10 minutes per intensity and see if you can see that average rolling out. And then if you figure one that seems like you're getting a better output, let it run for 24 hours and see if it sustains it. And that should give you a good indicator if that's the right intensity level for your card, and that you're not overtaxing. Additionally, I want to give a kind of a PSA of, if you built your rig predicated on Ethereum and the power levels that you'd be using on Ethereum with having it down, you know, undervolted and all that, meaning like if you did a 6-card rig and you had a 1,000-watt power supply for that 6-card rig, let's say an RX 480, you've done the voltage mods on it, you're running at like 880, 900 watts on a 1,000-watt power supply, it's been running fine, you are going to exceed your power supply with this setup, with 6 cards on 1,000, on any of the RX cards, right? You're going to go to 1150, 1200, somewhere around there is where you're going to end up peaking at, even 1286. And what I'm saying is I have essentially I have 2 7-card builds back here. Both of those, one of them has a 1300 G2 on this 7-card build, and I've hit almost 1300 with those 7 cards. So you got to watch the power. If you don't own a kilowatt, I mean, you can go to bitsbetriven.io. I have a link under the utilities and the things that we use out there, the tools of the trade. It's like 30 bucks, 26 bucks. You can go get them at your local stores. Get a kilowatt and see what your machine's doing, and make sure that you're not overtaxing it. It is totally, totally, totally worth your time, if you don't own one, to validate that you're not going to overtax your card. If you burn up a card or you blow a power supply, you're going to wish that you had that $30 kilowatt. You want to know what your output is. So if you built it and you didn't give any headroom, then you're going to have to go one less card on that build and just, you know, put that card in a machine or something else and just run 5 on that 1,000 watt. And then you'll be bouncing right around 900 watts. So That's just kind of a PSA on that. That works the same way with NVIDIA cards. I mean, I know a lot of people that did 6-card 1070 builds with 1,000 watts, knowing that, hey, I'm only running at 80% power limit, 70% power limit, and I'm only using 700 watts of power. Well, you're going to be breaching 1,000 watts yourself on a 1070 build. So again, I have a 1070 build back here. That's also got actually that's a 6-card 1070 with the option of going to 7, and we went ahead and went up over more than enough power on that one. That one's got a 1300 G2 also on it, which we breached close to 1,000 watts, no problem there. And then on the 1080s are going to use about 156 plus watts a piece. And if you have a 6 or 7 card on that, I got a 1500 AXI from Corsair on that, which gives it more than enough headroom. But I've seen that machine as high as 1310 on the wattage. So, and this was a machine that was barely touching 1,000 watts before. So again, it's a long PSA, but I just want to make sure you guys are preserving your guys' equipment and that you're not overtaxing it. I'll take like 3-4 minutes worth of let's see here, questions. If you guys have any questions. There's a ton of guides, and there's a lot of people starting to cover Raven and the x16r algorithm in general, which is Ravencoin. And here, we'll switch back over to this one. There's a ton of those being covered right now, so you're going to see different perspectives on what people's different outputs are, which are good. But just, you know, heed to what they've said on there, or whatever they've shown, and their proof, you know, when they've done their live testing too. All my 850 watts, I've seen 1300 watts in mining Raven. They're all 7-card NVIDIA rigs. I have 2 850s. Yeah, so yeah, there's a Digital Mining Solution coming up saying the same thing. I've gotten 2 rigs, 8 GPUs each, and only mine Ethereum. Again, we're gonna wrap this stream up here in the next like 4 minutes. We'll let it go 40 minutes total on YouTube. I'm gonna then give you guys, you know, 10 minutes or so, and then we'll fire up Twitch after this. And Twitch is going to be kind of quasi unstructured. I'm actually going to break this down. I'm breaking a few other things down and cleaning some stuff, and I'll be answering questions on that. It's just going to be kind of rolling stream. But in that, we're going to give away a couple things. On Twitch, we have a bot system now on there that'll allow you to kind of enter into it. And then, again, it's worldwide. We ship worldwide on all this stuff. I make sure that, you know, it's just not U.S. only. It's not like latest in tech that'll probably get me in trouble for shipping it. It's, you know, 750 Ti, a couple other things. I can't remember my username on Twitch. What are your thoughts about Ethereum? I like Ethereum. I've always liked Ethereum. I like the idea of platform coins. I think all of them will do perfectly fine right now. I think the top 10, 12, top 15 coins that are out there right now from a mining standpoint are going to do okay. They're all, if any, again, this is not financial advice. Do not listen to me for financial advice. This is my opinion only. I have to say that. But I think any of the platforms, there's a ton of effort being put onto those platforms. And what I mean by that is like real dollars with real engineers trying to build real pieces of software, dApps, decentralized applications, a lot of that platform content. So that stuff is, you know, going to create the value, an additional value and use for those systems. So current difficulty has gone up from when I started. It was at 6K. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more people coming over to Raven, giving it. What are those 15? I don't like the ads on Twitch. Painful. I don't think you get. I don't think you get ads if you're Turbo.
If you're Turbo or Prime.
So if you have a Prime account, if you have an Amazon Prime account, make sure that you've linked those two up. I was a Prime, and I actually went Turbo before I knew you could do Prime. But if you have a Prime account, which most people, like I would believe, is buying from Amazon and probably has a Prime account, but you get essentially like the premium access on there. But Twitch is a lot easier for us to stream. You can actually snip. You personally can actually use the director tool in the bottom right. If you see something, you can quickly grab that. It'll throw it into this like director editor thing. You can highlight what you want to snap, and then you can include that as just the snapped pieces. So like if I discover something and then you're like, oh my god, I don't want to forget that, you can snap that piece real easy. There's a lot of cool tools that come with it. How much space are you leaving between the cards? I have seen anywhere from 3 or 4 inches. Most of the spaces between the cards, like back here, this is 1.5 inches, and then this is 2 inches. So 2 inches on the 1080s, and then I had 1.5 inches on these 570s, and there's 2 inches on the other 570 rig that's behind there. So most of our builds are out there.
And tell them if they use Prime, they get that free sub every month too, subscription.
Yeah, if you're using Prime, you do get a free subscription sub. So if you value the person's content that you come over there, it's free to you. You can just subscribe to that person with your Prime account, and essentially that's essentially like donating. And you've already done the stuff, so you can unhide that one. Yeah. Best pool for RVN. I'm still using Supernova. I don't think it's necessarily the best pool, but it's the one I've used since the beginning. Three-eyed, there's a handful of pools out there. Raven Stats Info kind of gives you all the different ones that are out there. Started mining Ravencoin today, and slowly thanks to you. No problem, Alfred.
We just got 2 more subs. We've had about, I think, 5 subs over here on Twitch.
Nice.
While you've been going.
Yeah, I'll call you guys off that's sub to us on Twitch while we've been over there. So, is it worthwhile mining Raven with CPU? If you're not using a lot of energy, I mean, you got to understand, like Raven's going to have a 21 billion limit, so it's kind of like ETN when it comes to the amount of supply. From a pricing right now standpoint, it's about 300 and some Satoshis. It might be more. I haven't looked at it today. It might be 330. So, you know, it's not right now, given the market capitalization of the entire ecosystem in general being about 340 billion. You know, it's more one of those things that as more investment comes into the space in general, if it goes to like a $2-3 trillion market cap, where does that go from, you know, a division of all of that capital? You know, does Raven go to something like 3,000 Satoshis if Bitcoin's at 100,000? You know, so that's the kind of math there. You get a lot of full units right now. You know, you're not mining an incremental unit like you are with you know, Ethereum.
Is there a link somewhere for the miner for Raven?
We have some in our other videos, so if you just look through some of our videos, you'll see them. There's also on the website and on the main primary Bitcoin Talk Ravencoin piece. We'll put those extra links down here. We kind of just put this description together. I'm going to actually put the some more of the detail below in the description below here. That's what we're going to do for the next 10 minutes after we shut this stream down. We're going to go for 3 more minutes. I'll answer any more questions, and then we're going to move over to Twitch. Again, you're going to want to come over. So we got 230 people in here. If we can even get half of you guys over into Twitch, you know, you guys can be part of that giveaway. Again, we're shipping anywhere in the world, pretty much anywhere. There's like 7 places I probably can't ship to, but which are like people that want to like destroy America type of thing. Like if you're somehow VPN'd in from like North Korea, there's a high chance I can't send that to you. You can buy and sell Ravencoin on Crypto Bridge. Let's show Napalm's message. There we go. Twitch address is Bits Be Trippin'. So if you Twitch TV.
twitch.tv/BitsBeTrippin'.
Yep. How's the white Chinese PSU? The Chinese PSU died. It blew up. I was running about 1,400 watts to it. It was on Vega 64s, 5 of them, and it blew up. It did not sustain 1,400 watts. It was supposed to be a 2,600 watt power supply. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this one up. Hopefully this answers some questions. The spreadsheet that we went over is available in the description. I've made that available to you guys. You guys can cross-compare, provide comments and feedback below. And if you see a setting that works with a particular thing, you're like, hey, 22 intensity with this power limit works great for me. That helps the whole community. Thoughts on the decentralized exchange? I like the decentralized exchange. It's just not going to... There's a lot of work for decentralized exchanges to remotely ever get into to compete with a real exchange, like an exchange that is not necessarily direct to blockchain, because of the speed. Like, you're not going to have the high frequency trading happen on a stream.
You switched over. We just missed like 4 more subs.
All right, yeah, we'll wrap this one up. Bring your questions over to Twitch. Give us 5 minutes. We'll be over there. We'll fire up just on Twitch. As I break this down, we'll answer questions.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay, 2 minutes. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. We're moving to Twitch. Thanks for checking this one out, guys. Like, subscribe. We're moving to Twitch.